Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try and get my slides going. Which kindness is going to come help me. Sorry, it didn't quite get going. Oh, thank you. Okay. All right, so we have a really special service today, the intersection of science and spirituality. And so I just want to start by welcoming everybody. And so welcome to the worship with the community of First Unitarian Church of Omaha. My name's Mary Kay Peters, and I'm going to be serving as the worship associate this morning. Whether you're attending online or in person, I'm glad you've chosen to join us for worship today. And I offer up a special welcome to visitors, any visitors that might be here. This congregation is a community of all ages and abilities, and a community with a rainbow of gender and sexual identities, and a community of diverse cultural and class backgrounds. And we draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self into this community and to remember that you're never alone when you're here with us. If you're joining us online, you're encouraged to create a YouTube account and sign in so that you have access to the comment features. And then you can do some online chatting during the service, and also use the comments if you want to share any joys and concerns that would be lifted up during service, and also just to say hello to others and share something about how the service connected with you, if you'd like. And for those of you here in person, you're invited to share coffee and conversation together in the common room downstairs after the service. And I do have, let's see. Oh, also there's a parking validator. I think it's in the foyer now for those who parked in the garage for your tickets. And I do have one announcement. Are you interested in membership? If you're a visitor, you're invited to pop in to our Pathways to Membership class, which is going to be taking place today. Melissa is going to be leading it. She's in the back waving. And it's going to be from noon till 2, and in the Merit Lounge, which is the comfy room with all the couches and comfy chairs down the hall there. And it's just an opportunity to learn about our church and the Unitarian Universalist denomination and our governance and how we work and more. And you'll walk away with everything you need to proceed with membership if that's what you desire. And if you're unable to attend but you would like to schedule a class that works for your schedule, you can just talk to Melissa. And also her email is admin@firstuuomaha.org. And there's a QR code if you want to find out anything else. It's on the order service, and there's also e-news in the foyer. And lastly, I want to affirm that our church occupies the traditional treaty lands of the Omaha and Otoe, Missouri tribal nations whose sovereignty existed long before this state of Nebraska. And we would also like to express our respect to the Ponca and Winnebago tribes of Nebraska, the Sani Sioux tribe of Nebraska, and over 170 other tribes that are represented within this Omaha area. And at First Unitarian Church of Omaha, we invite everyone to join us and go beyond acknowledgments by educating ourselves to their presence in our area and supporting causes, charities, and rights of Indigenous peoples here. And I personally would like to celebrate the pardon of Leonard Peltier so that he can go back home after 50 years and be with his family at the end of his life. And now our prelude, which is Metamorphosis 3 by Philip Glass, and we welcome Sarah Cornell to the piano. Guest, Richard Randolph, is going to be lighting the chalice for us. If you want to join me in the words. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation, as we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. This is the symbol of our faith. Thank you. Okay, so our opening reading is actually a call and response. Let me get my slides forward here. It's 651 in your gray hymnal. The Body is Humankind by Norman Cousins. I am a single cell in the body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. I am a single cell. My needs are individual, but they are not unique. I am interlocked with other human beings in the consequences of our actions, thoughts, and feelings. I will work for human unity and human peace, for a moral order in harmony with the order of the universe. Together we share the quest for a society of the whole equal to our needs. A society in which we need not live beneath our moral capacity, and in which justice has a life of its own. We are single cells in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. And our opening hymn is 354, We Laugh, We Cry. Okay, we have a capital campaign moment next. So Daniel Bird is going to come do that.
Okay, another 3 guesses as to why I'm standing up here today. Anybody want to guess? Okay, I'm going to surprise you because I'm here to talk about participation. We've got a capital campaign going on that everybody should be aware of by now, but preaching to the choir a little bit here. But I want to start with a question, and I want to end with a statement. So my question is, who are we? And I have to say, after 14 years, that's just how long we've been coming here, I'm only beginning to recognize who we are as a church. It's getting more exciting and more fulfilling the more I learn. This capital campaign has been energizing. It has deepened the commitment and participation on many levels for many of the people here. I said we, the people of First UU, but That sounded too constitutional to me there, but going forward is promising. As others before me have stated, start with a good hat. Just happen to have one. But, as some of you may have learned, a good footing is important at this juncture. So I'm referring to the nursery situation here. So what is most encouraging is the participation thus far. We have about 170 members. Don't quote me on that, but that's the ballpark. And we have pledges from around 70. I think that's pretty good, but it would mean so much more to full participation. Any amount, large or small, would let you buy in. We in no way want this to diminish the stewardship contribution you may or may not be, excuse me, considering, which is coming up next month also. But I believe we can all buy in. So, when we do, I believe it makes the statement of who we are a shining example. So let's all buy in any amount that you can. Thank you.
So I heartily agree with that, and I actually watched the documentary on Netflix this past week that Reverend Sherry had suggested on our forum, Join or Die, which talks a lot about how important small communities like this are, learning how to lead and making decisions, how they connect us to each other, and how it keeps our democratic process going in that vein, because in studies that have been done, it shows that the more people, connect with their community, with organizations, the more satisfied they are with their democratic leadership. So it's important to support small communities like this and join in and protect our building, of course. So we're going to move on to our community offering, which is for restoring dignity. So each week we share our blessings with others through community offering, and half of the loose currency in the offering plate is donated to a local cause which resonates with UU values. So if you're online or prefer to give by your smartphone, you can use the QR code or the link provided, and our Share the Plate recipient for January is Restoring Dignity. They bring lasting change and hope to local refugees in the Omaha area through empowerment, education, and advocacy partnerships. And our offertory music is the Piano Sonata 14 by Beethoven. Okay, and now we're going to move on to our care and centering. Let's see. So we have one from Melissa Gibson. These are the joys and concerns that people have submitted in our little book in the back. And, Canis turns 29 for the first time, really, on Thursday. Happy birthday, Canis. Kindness, sorry. Oh, and she's got another one. Thank you to my husband, Jonathan, for taking video around the church today. We're working on a new welcome video for the church. Please just pretend he's not here. I'm not sure where he went. Yeah, Colin has a couple from online.
From Terry Lynn Brewer, saying on January 29th, I am having surgery on my right shoulder. I will be at Lakeside Hospital overnight, and it sure would be nice to have a meal brought to me. You know how bad hospital food is. Plus, I love visitors. I will have my phone, 402-813-9757. I love calls too. I should be going home the next day, January 30th. Love to all. Send energy and thoughts. Love, Terry Lynn.
She likes Asian food, especially tofu with peanut butter sauce.
Tofu with peanut butter sauce. Okay, I have a contemplation. Let's see. I just want everyone to take a moment, look at our slide. You made it through the darkest weeks of the year. So if everybody wants to just sit back, get comfortable in your seats, have both feet on the floor, relax. And I'm going to do a little contemplative reading. This is a morning psalm by Edward Hayes. Show me, O Spirit of life, at the beginning of this new day, that I am no master at the art of living, or in spending the gift of these new hours of life. I'm no expert, even though I've lived 1,000 days, like this gift day, so brightly wrapped in sunrise. Give me, O my Creator, a beginner's mind to play with this new day that has dawned. With a beginner's mind, fresh and open, I can see countless ways to explore the promise these hours hold as a gift from you. May I approach the tasks and unknown challenges that await me as if it were the first time. Grace me with your insight as I use this day to explore new ways to live this day. May the experiments I have considered make this day rich in an abundant harvest of the fruits of kindness and love that you, with infinite patience, desire from me. Grant me also the generous spirit of your servant son, Albert Schweitzer, who said, even if it's a little thing, do something for others, something for which you get no pay but the privilege of doing it. And now I would like to welcome Richard Randolph, whom I met this past September at a Flatwater Collective Loving Kindness meditation workshop held at our church. He is the founder and director of the Science and Spirituality Institute and a retired pastor in the United Methodist Church. The Institute held its first conference last May at the Nebraska Med Monroe Meyer Institute, focusing on genetics and spirituality.
Before I begin today, I just want the congregation to know that I too celebrated my birthday this past week. However, in the sense of honesty and forthrightness, it was not my 29th birthday. I want to begin by thanking Mary Kay and all of you for the invitation to come and speak today about the interface between science and spirituality. I consider this opportunity to be a high privilege because it allows me to speak about this passion that I have, that I've developed over the course of my life. Ever since I was in high school, I've been intrigued by the interface between science and my faith. At first, I struggled with this relationship. For example, I struggled with how do I, as a Christian, reconcile the theory of evolution with the creation stories in Genesis 1 and 2. Over time, I was able to reconcile these differences as I went through my spiritual journey. Yet I continue to be intrigued by this interplay because I know of other people who continue to struggle with how they relate their faith or their spirituality to science. For example, when my daughter was a sophomore in high school, one day she came to me in the evening after school and she said, "Daddy, I need to talk to you." And I said, "Of course, what's up?" And she said, "I don't know how to say this, but Dad, I can't be a Christian any longer." Well, this was surprising. And I said, "Okay, well, why can't you be a Christian any longer?" And she said, "Well, in biology class, we're beginning to study the theory of evolution. And I believe in evolution. So if I believe in evolution, I can't be a Christian because I can't believe in the Bible." And so she had this crisis of faith because she was struggling with the reconciliation of what she had learned for 14 or 15 years, going to Sunday school and vacation Bible school and youth groups and all of the things she was doing in our church, with the reality of evolution. So people struggle with this issue, and I've always been intrigued by it. When I went to graduate school to work on my PhD, I went to the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, and a part of that school is the Center for Theology and the Natural Sciences. And one of the reasons I chose GTU was because of this center. And so as soon as I arrived on campus, I went to the center and I introduced myself to the director. And every event and every class that they offered, I was trying to take. And I did that for 2 or 3 years as I did my classwork and got through my exams and got my dissertation approved. And then the center invited me to apply for a new position that they were creating. So I applied and was offered the position of program director at the Center for Theology and the Natural Sciences. I spent 3 years in that role, and it was amazing. It was awesome. It was exhilarating. There has been an ongoing dialogue in academia for about 50 years now between scientists on the one hand and theologians and philosophers on the other hand, talking about ways in which science and faith or spirituality can come together in a fruitful and productive and mutually affirming dialogue. And this all occurs at a specialist level in academia, but I got to be a part of that for 3 years. And it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I got to travel around the world giving talks. I got to be a part of working groups. Twice, NASA asked me to be a part of a working group that they were putting together of scholars and scientists. I just loved it. And as a part of CTNS and what I was doing, my own faith was deepened and became stronger. And I really enjoyed that time that I had at CTNS. And I kept thinking to myself, I can think of people who are not specialists, and they are still trying to reconcile or to think about how science and their spirituality or their faith can be in dialogue with one another in terms of their own spiritual pilgrimage and journey. And I thought to myself, somebody needs to get busy working to help take all of this esoteric, very specialist-oriented academic work and make it available and accessible to non-specialists. I thought that was a great idea, and I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for somebody to do that the way I envisioned it. And then finally, about 5 years ago, I realized it wasn't going to happen unless I did it. And so I made a commitment, and along with my wife, LaGreer, we decided to create the Science and Spirituality Institute, or SSI. And it was created, as Mary Kay said, last year, 2024. The mission of SSI is to promote the mission of SSI is to promote and nurture a mutually enriching dialogue between the sciences and diverse religions and spiritualities. We hope to nurture this dialogue by providing materials on our website, as well as organizing conferences such as the conference at UNMC in May, and by giving talks such as this one. In addition, I also envision SSI as facilitating a greater interreligious dialogue between diverse faiths and spiritualities. Now, here's what undergirds this vision. Science and technology are integral to our contemporary culture, and our culture permeates our lives. Let me explain what I mean by the use of a metaphor. In this metaphor, imagine that all of us, humankind, all persons, are like fishes swimming in the ocean, living in the ocean, thriving in the ocean. Well, if you imagine yourself as a fish, then our culture is the ocean in which we all swim and live and thrive. Culture is something that we all have in common, whether or not we like our culture. So because science is integral to our culture, then the relationship between science and spirituality provides a common starting point for interfaith dialogue. Rather than beginning an interfaith dialogue with our disagreements about, for example, whether you can accept or not accept the Christian doctrine of the Trinity, the science and spirituality dialogue offers a different starting point. It offers a starting point that we all share in common. And that is, how do we bring together in our spiritual journey, our spiritual pilgrimages, how do we bring together our spirituality or our faith on one hand and the science which permeates our culture and makes our lives better on the other hand? That's a commonality that all faiths and all spiritualities share with one another. Now, an urgent example of that common starting point would be a relationship between genetics and spirituality. So let me ask a question. By the show of hands, okay? Has anyone here ever used a genetic testing company such as 23andMe or Ancestry DNA to learn about their personal genetic heritage? Look around, there's a lot of hands up. Keep your hands up for just one more moment. Has anybody in your family used one of these and told you about it, and they just wouldn't give you any rest? I think I got almost everybody who can agree to that. My sister did our genetic history, and she got so excited. She is into genealogy, and so this has really helped her with that hobby. So recently, a new genetic engineering technology was developed. It's called CRISPR. CRISPR is an acronym for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats. So CRISPR for short. When used with a particular protein called Cas9, CRISPR provides a method for doing precise gene editing. This technology has the potential to become an inexpensive tool that can precisely find, remove, and replace a specific sequence of genetic material, such as DNA. Now, obviously, the implications of CRISPR are enormous. There's the possibility of using CRISPR for genetically improving agricultural crops and genetically modifying livestock. There's the potential for modifying certain disease-transforming life forms in the environment, such as modifying the genetics of the malaria-carrying mosquitoes. However, most of the attention so far with CRISPR has been focused on the potential to provide medical benefits for human beings. For instance, there's the possibility of editing the genetic variants that raise an individual's predispositional risk for developing cancer by editing and replacing those genes that make for that genetic predisposition to breast cancer or to some other form of cancer. The first CRISPR treatment was approved just last year in January 2024. It's a treatment for sickle cell disease. Sickle cell disease misshapens a person's red blood cells, making them crescent-shaped and sticky in the body. This can lead to the red blood cells building up and blocking blood vessels in the body, thereby cutting off oxygen to parts of the body and causing, for people who have this disease, these excruciating series of just excruciating pain that can go for days and sometimes even weeks. Just excruciating pain that that person basically immobilized and unable to carry on with their daily activities. The condition affects about 10,000 people in the United States, most of them African American. However, despite all of these potential benefits for the CRISPR technology, there are also some really significant challenges and problems. First, with regards to the treatment of sickle cell disease, currently, as they have just rolled out the first treatment, the cost per patient is $2.2 to $3.1 million. So far, insurance payers have been willing to fund the technology in the United States. However, sickle cell is much more common in other countries, particularly in Africa and other countries which do not have the type of medical resources and funding that we have in the United States. So for persons suffering from sickle cell in Nigeria, where 25% of the population has this condition, the breakthrough with CRISPR is really just academic. It's beyond their grasp, beyond their ability to get that treatment because of the cost. In addition, the approved CRISPR treatment for sickle cell is very involved and very intrusive. It includes an arduous process of collecting stem cells from the patient's blood. It includes high-dose chemotherapy and a weakened immune system. Essentially, this treatment using CRISPR takes about a year out of the patient's life and puts it on hold because they are either in the hospital or they have to live very close to the hospital for all of the appointments they need to keep. An even greater concern with CRISPR was recently raised by a research group in Zurich, Switzerland. In a report published in the scientific journal Nature Biotechnology this fall, the group reported that even though CRISPR can be used for precise genetic editing, it can also result in the simple deletion of thousands and thousands of DNA bases and the breaking of entire chromosomes in other parts of the body. So what I'm trying to say is that even though CRISPR can be very precise and very exact in terms of modifying the particular genes that lead to some cancer or to sickle cell, it also has massive side effects which affect other parts of that particular human being. And we don't know how serious those side effects might be. This means, according to the laboratory, that there are unpredictable consequences for when the cells are edited. Now, for me, I think this CRISPR technology raises some very important questions. And what I'd like to do today is talk about 3 of those questions. 2 are ethical, and 1 is metaphysical. First question is ethical. How do we weigh the risk of the use of CRISPR? How do we weigh the ethics of risk for CRISPR, especially in light of the research done by the laboratory in Zurich? Now, it should be noted that Jacob Korn, the lead researcher at the Zurich lab, does not believe that we should give up on CRISPR despite the very serious side effects and consequences which his lab was able to identify. Instead, he says, quote, "The development of any new technology is a rocky road. One stumble does not mean that we give up on the technology." But still, I think it's a really important question. Ethically, how do we weigh the risk when so much is unknown? Essentially, with CRISPR right now, we don't even know what we don't know. We don't know all of the implications of this technology. So how do we weigh, from an ethical perspective, these risks? How do we determine where we've identified these risks and been able to account for them in such a way that we can move forward with this technology with some confidence and know that we're behaving ethically? Second question about CRISPR, a second ethical question, is should the CRISPR technology be accessible to everyone? We've already seen, I've already described how expensive the first CRISPR technology approved is. It's $2.2 to $3.1 million per patient for treatment. Now, there are about 10,000 Americans with sickle cell disease. Are we going to make it so that they can access this technology and treatment if they desire? And if we do make this technology available to all 10,000 people at $2.1 million, who's going to pay for that? And what about sickle cell patients in other countries which cannot afford the CRISPR technology? Should our country, the United States, provide financial assistance to those countries so that they can have the treatment for their citizens who have sickle cell? Should we provide that financial assistance in much the same way as in the past we've provided a particular country with financial assistance if the society was suffering the effects of a devastating flood or earthquake or a medical epidemic? In addition to providing healing for many different diseases, CRISPR could also, in theory, be eventually used for enhancements. That is, we could use CRISPR to alter a baby's physical appearance, to make them more intelligent, to make them better athletes, or to enhance them in some other way. For example, to enhance their ability to perform music. In other words, we could move into the world of designer babies, with parents selecting the most desired traits for their child. Should this technology be available to all parents to design their babies, to provide enhancements for their children, regardless of the parents' ability to pay? Or should it be available only to those who can pay and will pay? If that's where we come out, then you can imagine a scenario further down the road in the future where affluent families are able to pay for this technology and provide enhancements for their children, whereas the rest of us would not be able to provide the same enhancements for our children. Is that fair? The third question is metaphysical or theological, and it's this question. It sort of builds off of the second question about accessibility and about enhancements of children. The third metaphysical question is this: will CRISPR technology potentially change our understanding of what it means to be a human person? Will this technology change how we think about human nature, how we think about what it means to be a human person? Already some Christian theologians have been raising this exact question, and they've framed their discussion in terms of the Christian notion of the imago Dei, that is, the image of God. These Christian thinkers are concerned that the CRISPR technology has the potential to undermine their commitment of Christians to the imago Dei, which means treating all persons with respect and dignity. And I think that, as far as I know, other faith traditions, other spiritualities, although they may have a different way of framing this, we can all agree that our best faith, our best spirituality calls us to treat one another not only with respect and dignity, but with loving kindness. So, will CRISPR erode that spiritual commitment? So 3 questions that I leave with you to think about. How do we weigh the risk of the use of CRISPR, especially in light of research done recently? How do we or should we make CRISPR technology accessible to everyone? And will CRISPR technology potentially change our understanding at the very core of who we are, of what it means to be a human person? In its January 8, 2025 issue, the scientific journal Nature published an editorial calling for social discourse on the ethical use of human genetic engineering. In their opinion piece, the editors wrote these words, quote, "The past few decades have shown that new technologies are being developed ahead of conversations on their ethics or social or environmental impacts. From the atomic bomb to artificial intelligence, discussions of risk, benefits, safety, regulations, and transparency have had to play a game of constant catch-up. This mistake should not be repeated with genetic engineering." So, the editors of Nature are calling for a public conversation about genetic engineering, and particularly with regards to CRISPR. Jennifer Doudna, who won the Nobel Prize for her work on CRISPR, has also called for a public discourse, which includes religious and spiritual perspectives. So my hope is that the Unitarian Universalist will be at the forefront of this public discourse. As a United Methodist looking over the fence at UU's, I've always been impressed with the rich resources and the rich traditions that the Unitarian Church could contribute to this discussion as well as other discussions. Our society needs many perspectives on genetic editing and genetic engineering. One of the most important perspectives is the perspective which you as Unitarians can alone provide. I hope you're part of this discussion. Amen. Can I say amen? Amen. I'll be in the coffee hour if you want to talk to me some more. Do you want me to announce the song? Or is there something else? I'll get out of your way.
No, that's it. So our closing song is number 298, "Wake Now My Senses." Let's do 3 verses. I do have closing words by Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. And our postlude is by Frédéric Chopin.